G'day, FCC pastors and ministry workers. My name's Lee. I'm the chair of the ministry team for the FCC. And with me today, I've got Derek Hanna, who's going to be speaking for us as part of our Revitalise Pastors Retreat, which unfortunately this year is going to be exclusively online, which actually also gives you guys an opportunity, if you live up in Queensland, like Derek, to be able to tune in a little bit easier. So hey, Derek, thanks very much, mate, for joining us today. Would you be able to give us just a little bit of background in terms of what you've done for work, what you're currently doing, and probably just kick us off with an all-important question. You're a Queenslander. Does that mean you go for the Maroons?
Definitely don't go for the Maroons or the Maroons, either of them. No, I'm from Sydney originally, and so I love being in Queensland because they respond so well to little needles at Origin. Yeah. Although I did have to suffer about 10 years in New South Wales loss. Anyway, so no.
Awesome, that's right, because you're from Lugano originally, aren't you?
Lugano, yeah, I am not far from the Shire. To what the Shire aspires to be, but no, not from the Shire.
Yeah. That's good. Derek, why don't you tell us a little bit about just your ministry experience over the last while, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I was from Sydney. I moved up to Brisbane after Bible college, which was probably about 17 years ago. Worked for a Prezi church up here for a couple of years, and then I planted out of there into the city from that church. I built a church called Village Church. So we planted there within the Prezi system. I started working for Geneva Push. I stepped out of my plant and started working for Geneva Push, which is a planting network, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about later, about 6 years ago. And my job there was to work with planters who are preparing to plant, just to help them think through what it looks like to plant, the challenges they're going to face, connect them with people who would help them. And then about 2 or 3 years ago, I started leading Geneva Push, the planting arm of Reach Australia, which didn't exist 5 or 6 years ago. But again, we'll talk about Reach Australia and how it fits in a little bit later. So I lead Geneva Push now.
And why don't you tell us what it is that you're going to be talking to us when you bring the Bible to us in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, that's great. When Geneva was started 12 years ago, the focus of Geneva Push was on the church planting leaders, the couples in that. Because one of the things they realised was if you're going to have healthy local churches, you have to have healthy local leadership in that. And so that's both husband and wife within that context, strong marriages, particularly the guys as well, having a spiritual vibrancy, a connection with the God who saved them, who's made them, who's called them to this place. In an ongoing way, and that flows out. Health flows out, as does toxic leadership. Both of those things flow out of the church. So one of the things Geneva Push was set up for was to help local leaders, church planters, be healthy in doing that. And the same is true in any church. So we need to recognise that if we're going to lead a church, you've got to put your own oxygen mask on first before you're putting it on other people. So the two passages as we'll be looking at Genesis 3, which might seem like a strange one for this, but I'll explain why in a second. Genesis 3 and 2 Timothy. The 2 Timothy one is an easy one in some ways. It's Paul talking to his protege, Timothy, and he's pushing into comfort and identity, who we are in grace and security we find there, even as we strive in the ministry that we're called to do. But this one is a passage that has really resonated with me in leadership, because Genesis 3, along with Romans 5, in Genesis 3, this famous passage, the picture of sin and what sin does it plays out again and again in our lives in so many ways. Sin is that initial rupture, yes, as Genesis 3, but it's the drawing away, it's the pulling back from the God who created us. And so often we think, I just need to work harder to get back. But no, there's an intimacy that was lost at the fall that's regained in Christ. And we need to remember that intimacy is found in Christ, and leaning back into that in our own leadership, even as we draw other people into that. Not about necessarily what we do, our pragmatic skills, the results. All those things are important, but they are secondary to this spiritual vitality that is found in intimacy because we are in Christ. So they're the two passages I want to look at.
That's so good, mate. And I think that really just strikes a chord at what we're trying to see happening through Revitalise. We want to, be able to just hit the pause button, revitalize in the Word and by the Spirit, and do that together, so that we can actually be recommissioned to go back out again. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got to say, and just being able to pause as well. We know the challenges of everyday ministry. It can sometimes be a slog, but we follow a great God for all the resource and everything that we need. And I love the fact that you use the word intimacy in there as well. So I'm looking forward to digging into that a bit more. And then you're going to also bring kind of like a seminar workshop type thing for us as well. So why don't you just give us a brief snapshot of what you're going to be talking about there?
Yeah, so I think I want to give it's a bit of a case study in terms of revitalisation and what we're seeing, not just at a local church level, but a whole denominational level as well. So I'm in Queensland. I work with the Presbyterian Church up here. So I work in the Bible College half a day a week, teaching exiting students, thinking through what it looks like to lead. But I currently go to a little revitalisation in the city. So it's not a church plant, and I'm working with the young guy there to work out how it is we reach the people in that area and revitalise the church with an older congregation who are gospel-hearted, but how we help them move forward. Right. But what we've been seeing as well across the denomination in the last 15, 20, 25 years, so before I was here and while I've been here, what are the things that have stalled momentum, made it hard for local churches? What are the confronting things for churches that are plateauing and declining as well? But what as well we're seeing makes an impact, helps them take the next steps forward in order to reach the people they're trying to reach, care for the people well, and move towards a different future than they feel like they're heading towards now. Some are heart issues that need to be addressed. Some are structural issues that need to be addressed around either Bible colleges or leadership or those kinds of things. But just reflecting that on the things we've seen in Queensland in pre-season, I've only got a small snapshot from my perspective, but I'll draw from other people that I've spoken to about it, about how it is that we can not only turn around under God churches to be healthy gospel-centered churches again, but denominations to make a significant impact for the gospel, because they really can.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. And it's good to hear that it's not just ivory tower stuff that you pulled from a book. You're actually in there, you're doing it, you're speaking to real live people. I'm really looking forward to that, Derek. It sounds like it's going to be helpful.